Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we talk about healthy relationships from a Muslim lens. I'm Zara Hassan,
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 3.5 years.
and on this week's episode entitled We Fight All the Time, we will go through what are the common causes of most fights that couples have, how to address these fights, and we'll go through an example of a fight that you and I recently had. I bet you can't think of which one it is, but we'll
Definitely
find out.
not. If you like our videos, please comment and subscribe. Ask your questions below, and you may feature in one of our videos in the future.
And as a thank you, if you are a single woman, we've created for you a free compatibility guide that you can download from a link in the description below. And if you are a married woman, I have a free healthy marriage habits guide also in the description below.
And let's get started. Today, we have a question coming from a brother titled, I love my wife, but we fight over stupid things.
Okay.
I've been married for about 5 months or so. I can say I've fixed most of my issues my wife had with me, but I can't stop picking stupid arguments. And to be honest, neither can she. About a week ago, we got our flat renovated. She's still in uni and studies well into the night sometimes, and memorizes very loudly. Loud enough to wake the neighbors. Uni means university, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Our bedroom doesn't have a desk and a chair. She'd either study with her books in the dining room table or next to me on the bed, which I sometimes had a problem with her loud reading, but honestly, I got used to it. But she added a desk and chair to our corner room, which we used for storage but cleared it out. Then she also added a small cupboard for her clothes, which honestly didn't sit right with me because she already has clothes in the drawer in the bedroom. I told her she might as well get a bed in here and move out of our bedroom, which started an argument that led to nowhere. Now she slept in the other room without me on the mattress. This isn't the first time. I once jokingly told her her tea tasted like water with sugar in it, which led to an even bigger argument where she told me I didn't appreciate her. It was a joke, albeit true. We argue over the mode to set in the washing machine. I've always conceded to her tantrums, but honestly, I feel like making life harder every time I argue with her. We can have a perfect happy day watching movies, and I'll say something like, the movie was meh at the end, and she'll argue over why it wasn't and why I let her choose. Biggest issue is I can't seem to back off as well. Is this fixable, or do I just accept this is how life is going to be?
That's the question.
That's the question. And let me tell you, I resonate with this guy immediately.
That's what you kept looking at me.
That's what I do, right? That's what I used to do, is I would always debate and argue and try to settle things. And it would always be like, yeah, I'm going to try to win this conversation. I'm going to try to win.
Yeah,
right?
because you're right.
Everyone believes that they're right.
Yes.
Right? If you do something and you don't believe that you're right, then you're doing evil.
You were looking over at me with the tea. I don't know what that meant. Where he said that your tea tastes like sugar water.
Well, no, your tea doesn't have any sugar in it.
So it's worse. But okay, for the
your tea is actually pretty well done.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's a tea bag in hot water.
Yeah. I like my coffee black.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. You read that a lot better than I did. I think you're gonna read them more.
Alhamdulillah.
In Shaa Allah. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What's their way forward?
I mean, honestly, he already answered the question right off the bat. Like the guy argues about things that are dumb, and then she argues about things that are dumb.
Yeah.
They're both competitive. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And they don't know when to let go of the petty battles.
Do you think that they can?
Absolutely, everyone can.
Well, yeah, but
everyone can let go of the petty battles
without outside intervention.
No.
Yeah.
They're too far gone.
I think what's happening is that this is a very, very common dynamic we see in almost every marriage. It happens in our marriage. But you remember we talked about the different stages of the relationship?
Yeah, they're very similar to the stages of grief.
Yes. But the initial stage, which is the romantic stage or the honeymoon stage, depending on whose list you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second stage is the power struggle stage.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're probably in the power struggle stage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not able to resolve this, your issues, or trying to at least understand your issues in this stage, these are the marriages that don't last.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the underlying cause here, just like the underlying cause for most couples, is core wounds. It usually comes back to core wounds. Sometimes there's multiple core wounds, which is what I think is going on here, where she has her own and he has his own, and they're just triggering each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where if a person has an underlying core wound, for example, we'll say about feeling not good enough, every time that core wound is triggered, they go back into that place of, I'm in a lot of pain because I'm remembering that I'm not good enough, and he or she is confirming that I'm not good enough. How do I make this stop? And then so you cope by fighting back.
That does feed into the power struggle.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
there's a famous quote by Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh.
The pecking order.
Is that the quote?
Yeah.
Honestly, I as soon as you said his name, it conjured an image.
Yeah.
That we now understand better what that image is than when we were kids.
He's at the top of the pecking order.
Absolutely.
And you'd be foolish to challenge him.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be wild. But once you are in that cycle, because there is a bit of a cycle that happens here where somebody will be calm, and then that person becomes triggered because a core wound is activated, and while they're triggered, they need this pain to stop, so they're going to cope.
Yeah.
And one of the common ways that people cope is they either fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
So either fight back, and which is what's happening here, where they'll argue and say, no, it's this, no, it's that, or flight, which is they'll withdraw.
Yeah.
They might do the silent treatment. They might go to another room, which is, and again, what it is that this couple has been doing, just to cope and to cope with this uncomfortable feeling until it passes. And because it's all happening on a subconscious plane, everybody thinks it's about the dishes, or in this case, the washing machine.
Right.
Where it's not about the washing machine. It's
never about the washing machine.
It's never about the washing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think are their core wounds here? Especially if we go through fight.
Frankly,
fight.
if my washing machine breaks down, I'll just get another wife.
Now I'm triggered. Here we go.
I actually had a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible for a person to intentionally develop a core wound?
Intentionally?
Yeah.
I don't think
what
it's
if I feel like I'm too laid back?
You're too laid back. Yeah.
If anytime we have disagreements, if I'm just too laid back, what if I just give myself a core wound to give myself like a power up?
Is it really a power up?
I feel like I would argue hard,
Yeah.
with like an extra core wound.
It's by definition wounded.
That's true. But
it's a power down.
How, like, wounded animals fight the hardest.
Okay. All right. So just knock your. I'm not gonna make suggestions.
It's not an invitation.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. I'm not gonna wound you.
Yeah.
But actually, interestingly, right? So this isn't really terminology that exists anywhere else. It's terminology that I use with my clients simply because it works. But there's two types of core wounds that I use to coach married couples, where you have the primary core wounds, which are the ones that you brought in as an individual with you to the marriage, and most of us have primary core wounds. And then you have secondary core wounds that can develop usually after being married for a longer period of time as a result of going through these negative cycles over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
A person might develop a core wound around autonomy, for example.
Yeah.
If their partner is forever feeling like they need to control the situation in order to be safe because she has a core wound around safety, he might develop a core wound around autonomy.
Yeah.
After years of this. So there's primary and secondary core wounds. Okay, so just to make the concept a little bit more easier to understand, let's go through fight by fight.
Sure.
So their first fight
Mm-hmm.
is that his issue. It sounds like the young lady was studying for school and was reading out loud.
Yeah.
And so she needed her own office, so she went to an office space.
Mm-hmm.
And in this office space, she put a cupboard there.
True.
And when she put the cupboard there, she put some of her clothes there, and he didn't like it because he said, you might as well move in.
Yeah, because she's just, it's honestly, it's the same thing that I do to an extent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You may have noticed the table.
Yeah.
Right? I would try to put like a garbage bin there.
Yeah.
I would try to put like my wardrobe here.
The whole wardrobe.
Like I just like a place to hang my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I put a place to put my things away.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to make the long trip to the closet to retrieve items.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or I don't want to have to go to the bathroom to toss away the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I get that feeling of it, just move everything that I need to arm's reach.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a lot of possessions in a small house, might feel like that person's moving out.
Yeah.
It's quiet quit, you know?
Yeah, she's quiet
quitting.
So so it's very interesting because you and I
She's not quiet quitting. It feels like she is.
Exactly. That's exactly the point, right? Where her perception of what it is that she's doing is completely different from his perception, because what he sees is that
she sees convenience.
Yeah, for sure.
He sees abandoned.
Exactly. So again, all the information is what we have here in this question.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just assume this is all we need. This would suggest an abandonment wound here.
Yeah.
And instead of either, self-regulating, finding ways to cope, reminding himself that this woman loves him, she's just in the next room, right? And with being closer to the actual reality of the situation, the gentleman copes.
Yeah.
He does protest behavior where he's just saying, "Hey, where are you going?
Yeah.
You might as well leave."
Absolutely. Might as well leave. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right?
For the record, neither am I.
In Shaa Allah, I plan on being one in the future.
In Shaa Allah.
Perhaps.
In Shaa Allah.
Right? But I feel like I can confidently diagnose this man.
Oh, go for it.
He has a case of being a man. Where he'll just say what's on his mind because he has a sense of safety about him, you know?
Yeah.
He feels like if he gets into a fight, he can fight the person off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like, oh, if I say something wrong here, I might legitimately get finished off. They're just taken out back. He feels safe in his britches.
Yeah.
So he doesn't feel like, oh yeah, I could just say what I want,
This is true for both men and women, whatever style of, I call it, again, this is based on my experience, right? What I call the coping behavior. It will depend on the person's upbringing, right? It will depend on a number of factors that is usually determined during their upbringing.
Yeah.
So that by the time you're an adult, the way that you cope is already pretty much set in stone until you become a little bit self-aware, find a therapist. Right. Yeah, exactly. Until you heal your way out of it.
Yeah.
Right. But until then, because everything's happening from a subconscious plane, based on a set of rules, a manual that was written during your childhood, most people are unaware that this is what they're doing, and he thinks it really is about her being in the other room.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first issue. That would be the first fight. It would be the abandonment the wound related to abandonment. If we do another fight, what was the second fight?
Well, about these guys?
Yeah.
Indeed. They did indicate that she reads loudly.
Okay.
But then when they're watching movies together, he would, at the end of the movie, like they'd have a wonderful time. At the end of the movie, he would say, the movie was okay. It was meh.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it would be his negative comments, right?
Yeah.
So his negative comments with the end of the movie and with the tea and with the things that she does. In this case, I think it's her who has the core wound.
Yeah.
So would you venture to guess what that core wound might be, just with the information we have?
Inadequacy.
Yeah.
Because he already apparently indicated that he doesn't like her tea.
Yeah.
Because he'd made a joke that her tea is just sugar and water.
Yeah.
And let me be clear.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to make me tea that's sugar and water,
Yeah.
I've tried that already. It sounds like it's tasty, but it's just off-putting.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can understand his perspective.
Yeah.
However,
Mm-hmm.
that's not something you should say. As a Muslim husband,
Yeah.
what I've learned is that if you have any improvements on the way that your wife is cooking something, you'd like to make a suggestion, keep it to yourself. Inshallah, you'll get that in heaven.
I agree. I full-heartedly agree. Do you remember what I used to tell you in the beginning when we first got married? I said lie. Just lie to me. This is the one place where I want you to lie to me. Whatever it is, it's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree. It actually is delicious. Not kidding.
Okay, I appreciate that.
No lie.
I appreciate that. But okay, so let's say he's making these negative comments, and these negative comments are upsetting her, right?
Yeah.
And when she's upset, it sounds like she leaves. Right? It sounds like she leaves. There might be a little bit of fighting back, but he's commenting about the fact that he sleeps on the couch, or she sleeps on the couch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they sleep separately,
Yeah,
and then she
it's,
leaves.
you know.
She withdraws a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be a core wound around adequacy. It might be a core wound around not enoughness, right? But it's something related to her sense of ego.
Yeah.
And whenever it's triggered, she tends to cope by withdrawing.
Yeah.
And then the two of them together, I can just picture it, are in front of the washing machine, on arguing about, is it this setting or is it that setting?
Yeah.
So that will be a little bit more difficult to discern. That might be just leftover resentment.
Yeah.
From previous fights. So why are these fights dangerous? Because these two obviously really care about each other.
Yeah.
Right? And they want to be okay.
Yeah.
That's why he wrote in. It's what the issue here is, if you have enough of these fights over time, and they're not getting resolved, you are putting yourself in a position that resentment starts to build.
Yeah. It gives off an inflated sense of lack of love.
Yeah.
In the relationship, in the marriage. If all you remember is the most recent conversation being an argument,
Mm-hmm.
and the one before that being an argument, right?
Yeah.
You'll start to think that the entire relationship is an argument.
Yeah, but also, again, if it goes back to a little bit, let's talk a little bit back to the core wounds, right? So let's say he has a core wound around abandonment.
Yeah.
And the way that she keeps coping is by leaving.
Yeah.
So she keeps like, in his mind, she keeps leaving over and over again. In his mind, from the subconscious plane,
Yeah.
his mind is telling him, see, she's not going to stay. I told you she's not going to stay. And all of this leaves a sense of pain, right? Because the reason why it's a core wound is because it leads to emotional pain, right? So all of this emotional pain over and over again, it's this person who's causing me this pain, right? Regardless of the source of the pain.
Yeah.
Whether it's because you're making me feel abandoned, or you're making me feel inadequate, or you're making me feel unsafe, or what you're making me feel not good enough, whatever is the core wound, you are the one who's making me feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're the one who's making me feel this way, over time, you start to resent this person, and you start to, for making you feel badly all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't really understand why. Right? Because again, it's happening in the subconscious plane.
Yes.
So the problem with resentment is that it will set off into motion based on your, again, we previously discussed coping behaviors. So if you cope by withdrawing, your resentment might lead you to start becoming defensive. And over time, this defensiveness might evolve to be straight up stonewalling. Right? And both of these are two of the horsemen of divorce.
Yeah.
On the contrary, if you are somebody who copes by fighting, you might start becoming critical of your spouse.
Yeah.
And over time, this constant criticism might turn into contempt.
Mm-hmm.
The other two horsemen of divorce. So the little tiny fights that seem petty, if you let them go on for a long enough period of time, they will lead to resentment.
Yeah.
And the resentment inevitably can do real damage. It's like I always say it's like rust in a marriage. It can do real damage to your marriage.
Erosion.
Yeah. So how do we solve this?
By the way, before we go there,
Mm-hmm.
stonewalling to me always sounded cool until I realized what it was.
Yeah.
And speaking of stonewalling,
Yes.
I don't understand the number of people that have this problem wherein they own satisfactory hotels.
Okay.
Like hotels that are perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
They're perfectly normal.
All right.
People always come up to me and they say, I have problems with inadequacies.
No one will get that except for me.
I feel like I explained it well.
You did? All right.
Yeah. I feel like at least other people got that.
All right, we'll see. If anyone understood that other than me, let us know in the comments.
If you don't know, you know.
Okay, so that brings us to, well, how do we fix this? How do you fix that, having these petty fights that are rooted in core wounds?
Well, one, you should start trying to actively think about what you're going to say before you say it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Give yourself the Obama buffer.
Obama. Oh, yeah.
Where he doesn't talk until he's ready to say what he says.
Yeah.
Malaya.
Okay.
Sasha, Malaya, go to bed.
Just start speaking like Obama. Save your marriage.
I don't know how he. I don't know how he sounds.
You know, I
Sasha, Malaya, go to bed.
All right, that's all right.
I feel like that's the only line I've ever heard him say.
That's it's just not his voice, but I get the sentiment.
Sasha, Malaya, go to bed.
It sounds like a Star Wars character.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I'm spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if we talk about how to fix this, the key is going to be a few things. There's going to be a few things. First is because we talked about it being a little bit like a cycle where you become triggered, and once you're triggered, you start doing your coping behaviors, right? Whether it's fight or flight. And if you continue on with that cycle, you're not gonna get anywhere. Therefore, step one is to realize when you or your spouse is triggered. That's the first thing to do. Learn how to do. It's not easy. It takes time, but over time. But if you are paying attention, if you're a little bit wary of the fact that, okay, we're coming up on a fight, and you pay attention to your internal system. If you are activated, if you are feeling triggered, you don't have to understand why.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not you're feeling triggered. For the next thing to do is to step away. If you see that your spouse is triggered, step away.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean step away forever, because then that solves nothing. But the two of you should lay out an agreement beforehand. When there is no fight happening of how things will go, you should have an agreement that whoever is triggered is going to step away for 20 minutes. And during that 20 minutes, you're going to go do a little bit of self-regulation. If you need to go for a walk, however it is that you calm down, right? And in order to come back to a bit of baseline.
Yeah.
And once you're back to your baseline, what you need to now do is, because you're the one who is triggered, you're going to go and initiate the discussion that the two of you need to have to resolve the question, the issue at hand. What you need to do is you need to do a little bit of introspection to understand why you were triggered.
Yeah.
Why is this having the setting on the washing machine bothering you so much? Why is it bothering you so much that she's in the other room with the drawer? Be very honest with yourself. Because when you come back together, you're now going to have to go through the 5 steps. And step 1, right? And if we review them very quickly, step 1 is you validating your partner's experience, right? So while you're on your own on that walk, try to think about your partner's point of view so that you'll be able to tell them, I understand this is what your experience might be.
Absolutely.
And then step 2 is the hardest part. Is when you have to try to explain your experience, not what they did wrong, right? You're trying to explain your experience, what you were feeling, your point of view, what you think is the underlying cause. So you might say something like, okay, I understand that you were putting your clothes in the other room because it was more convenient. That makes perfect sense. but maybe because of my childhood and event A, B, and C, I struggle with feeling abandoned. And it makes me, especially by the people who I really care about, and it makes me feel like you're going further away from me, because this room is our room where we're supposed to be together, right? So you try to just talk about how it feels for you, what your experience is. And then step 3 is you check in. Step 4 is you state your need. Say, this is what I'm going to need in the future. And step 5, you check in once again. During the check-ins, what you're saying is, does that make sense? Because you want to see if what you just said makes sense. And if your partner says no, then you repeat the above steps until the answer to that is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic callbacks to the hotels, by the way, with check-in. Fantastic.
That's
way to tie that in.
That's specifically why I tied that in. I tied that in years before I met you.
One other thing you can theoretically do.
Yeah.
This might not work for everyone. Leave the threshold of the room, and both of you walk into another room together.
Yeah.
And leave your emotions in the other room.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm really glad you brought that up, right? Because for the couples that I've coached, they said that they have found this very helpful. I know that we find it very helpful. Is that to have a safe space, quite literal safe space, where you have the conversations between the two of you.
Yeah.
Try to make it a different place from the place that you've already been having these conversations. Yeah. Right? So if you've been having these conversations in your bedroom, find another room, right?
Yeah.
And in this new place and with this clean slate, once you have a couple of these discussions go well under your belt, it's going to really start to calm your nervous system and really reinforce within you, just by entering this space with your spouse, that things are likely going to go well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So try to have that an actual literal safe space. Everything that we're saying, we went through in detail in episode 2 on the first year of marriage.
To provide an example for those of you that don't understand what my wife means when she says, when things start going well, you start to trust the process more. When I was first learning how to blink, I would close my eyes and I would freak out, and I'm like, what's going on? What is going? And then I would open my eyes, and repeated efforts in doing that over the course of my lifetime, I now feel comfortable blinking.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So you have clear memory of the panic that induced day 1?
Yes.
First day of life?
100%. It was scarring. I feel like that's one of those core wounds that you talk about.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
You came out of that dark space.
Yes.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Okay, so that's the steps that you go through, right? So the first one is that if you feel triggered, walk away. And take that time to introspect, not only to self-regulate, but also to introspect and try to understand what's going on and why this is so triggering, why you're upset. Prepare what you're going to say through the 5 steps of the discussion. And then when you feel calm and your spouse feels calm, the two of you come back to your safe space, you sit down, and you go through the 5 steps. We've gone through these 5 steps so many times. People have been asking me, and I have a PDF that just lists the 5 steps that I give to couples. And I recommend that they just print them out and put it literally in their safe space so they can just refer back to it during the discussion. And it's been helping them. So I have a PDF for that. I'm thinking of creating a link. So if you would like a copy of that PDF, let me know in the comments. And if enough people want it, then In Shaa Allah, I have a link available the next episode.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So do you think we were able to successfully answer this person's question?
Were there more questions?
No, that was it. I feel like you covered all the topics.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just like your cooking, I feel like this presentation was flawless.
Well, see, now this is sus. But you know what? I take compliments where I find them.
I meant it as a compliment, so I suppose you should take it.
I don't know why you're giving me those eyes.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
mean something else?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'm going to be going on the market soon, huh?
No, not if I can help it.
I make these jokes because we're very comfortable in our marriage.
Alhamdulillah. No, but you're like, where is the limit? You're like, let me find it. You're on a mission. But inshallah, we worked out through answering this brother's question. But we also need to go through an example from you and me. All right. So let me go back. I'm trying to think to the last fight that we had. It was the one in the Walmart. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and explain it then. A couple of y'all might already know, just because of the nature that I'm a man, a man's man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that doesn't mean, by the way, a man who's looking for men. That just means like a man that other men are jealous of. You know, I just want to clear the air.
Of course. Go ahead.
I love Reese's peanut butter cups. It's not a sponsor.
Okay.
But I love the Reese's. And my wife and I, lovely wife and I, were shopping one day.
Mm-hmm.
And we had decided to get Reese's.
Okay.
And there was this one Reese's product that consistently was the same.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And one day, my wife put the Reese's in the shopping cart, and it was a different package, right?
Yeah.
And I thought she was shortchanging me. So I said, baby, why don't you get the regular package? And she says, oh, this is the regular package. And I'm like, no, this is not the regular package. The packaging is different.
Yeah.
Right? Like to me, it very clearly was different packaging.
Yeah.
And she said, no, this is the same package. It's the same product. It's like, it's the same package. And I thought she was gaslighting me into thinking that the package had always been this look, this way. And what did you think?
I thought that I didn't notice the difference in the packaging. I just noticed where the product is, how much it is, and what it says on the label.
It literally had the same SKU label.
Yeah.
Like the same identification number and everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So she said, if it looks like a duck, it sits like a duck, it'd be a duck.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought it was in my opinion, it was the same product. But we got to a point where I remember where we were standing, and I was a little bit ticked off, because what I understood you were telling me is, hey, you are getting me a smaller package because you insist on me being healthy for some reason. So you're trying to, put one past me. And I was like, I am absolutely not doing that. I don't know. I just felt really triggered. I felt like I was being blamed for something. What happened is that it felt like the conversation kept going back. So I was upset enough. I said, you know what? Let's go back. Let's go back to the aisle. I want to show you it's exactly the right one. So I went all the way back into the aisle and I was pointing at it, but you wouldn't enter the aisle. You said...
Right, because there were like so many people in the aisle.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have a conversation in public about packaging.
I didn't understand that's what you were thinking. I thought you were just saying, I refuse to acknowledge that you're right. I'm going to stay with this feeling that you're wrong. And you're just going to have to stay being blamed for the fact that you're wrong. That's what it really felt like. And I couldn't win. I'm like, I almost took the phone out. I'm like, let me take a picture of this and show it to you, because you're being so petty that you won't just look at the area. So I was just really very powerfully triggered over the silliest thing. And you were also very triggered.
We both felt like we were being gaslit.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go into the aisle because the aisle was crowded. Yeah. And I just didn't want to go into the aisle. So I had already conceded, right, that you were correct in this case, because I understood that the packaging had changed, but the product was still the same, So I came to that conclusion.
Oh, without telling me.
Yeah, no, I didn't tell you. No.
Yeah, you just came to the conclusion in your mind.
No, I think I did tell you, to be honest.
No.
I said something to the effect of like, okay, I get it, yeah. And then we moved on. I tried to move past it.
Yeah. I thought you were trying
I guess I didn't tell you.
Yeah, you were just patronizing me. So what I saw is you just being really petty of not coming into, that's what I saw from my point of view. So I was very upset. You were very upset. I don't think we talked the rest of the shop, the grocery trip. So we just went in, got the milk, got the yogurt, the things we had to get.
Yeah.
We went back to the car. We were still very upset. And
I
then
believe we talked in the car.
yeah, and we drove for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then by this time, because we'd been married a little bit longer, our normal safe space is here in our room. But because we've done this over and over again, so we now have multiple safe spaces.
We can make any place a safe space.
No, honestly, it's just the two, the car and this room. So we went through the steps and we had this conversation because in being quiet and going through the rest of the shopping experience, that was enough of a step back. Like once I noticed how very triggered I was, because you were so wrong and petty and mean. And you were equally triggered because I was just going off the walls.
I accept this.
Yeah, you were just going because I was going off the walls. It wasn't useful to have a conversation at that point.
Yeah.
So we just stayed quiet, and finishing the shopping trip, it gave us enough time. It gave us the full 20 or 30 minutes to be able to calm down and think through what we were thinking, what we needed to say. So that by the time we came to the car and we drove around a little bit, we stopped the car and then we had a conversation where you explained to me your point of view, just like you just did now. And I explained my point of view. And then we reconciled. And I don't remember what the stated need was. I think in this case it was, well, can you please just tell me instead of not making it feel like I'm being blamed? And you told me that the need was to not have these conversations in big public.
Not just that, but also when I was trying to get my point across and tell you, you would answer too soon and not take in what I was saying.
Yeah, exactly. To wait and not interrupt, right? So I broke my own rule that I tell people all the time: don't interrupt. See, when you're triggered, nothing works, right? So I've been more cognizant of that since then, inshallah. So that was a really weird Walmart fight. Alhamdulillah. Hopefully.
Alhamdulillah, it did strengthen.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. And the longer that you're married and the more that you're able to successfully navigate fights, if as long as the two of you care about each other and the two of you are invested in each other's well-being, all you really need is just to pick up these communication skills. And once you have them in place and you are able to navigate a few fights successfully, you will not, I cannot overstate how much easier and calmer and more peaceful peace will be built back into your life and into your marriage. So much of the tension just goes away because part of the reason why so many couples, including us in the beginning, have a lot of anxiety in their marriage is because they subconsciously understand that I don't have control of the situation. Somebody is going to be triggered and away we go on the cycle, and then after the cycle is finished, nothing will be resolved. Yeah. So over and over and over, nothing is being resolved. So it's like sort of being on a rowboat, and you know that there's a waterfall coming up, and but you have no paddles. There's nothing you can do to stop from going over that edge.
There's actually a really good video you should watch.
Yeah.
Check it out on YouTube. I think it's called "It Do Go Down."
Okay.
And it's about these two guys in a canoe, and they don't think that there's a waterfall up ahead. Okay. And they realize that there's a waterfall up ahead. And the guy says, "It do go down."
So for all the engaged couples or newlyweds who are in their honeymoon stage, tabarakallah, may Allah bless you in your union. Ameen. But remember, it do go down.
Go down.
That power struggle phase is coming. Those core wounds are going to come out. And the trigger cycles are waiting for everybody, right?
The communication routines are legitimately a practice, a skill that you need to practice to get good at, right?
Yeah.
And the closest thing I can equate it to is playing a game of catch, right? Yeah. When we were younger, we don't know how to catch the ball properly. We have to focus in order to maintain and catch the ball. Yeah. And the better we get at it, the easier it is. So you can do that skill subconsciously. Right? Yeah. Even if you're in a state of being triggered, it's easier to tap into that focus. Yeah. Right? But in the same way that it's a game of catch, both parties need to know they're playing the game.
That's true. Like
you can't just throw the ball at someone and expect them to reciprocate.
I really like that. I really like that because that's a good analogy for the fact that you need a partner who's willing to catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if in case the listener doesn't know, like this is my second marriage. I was previously divorced. You were also previously divorced. First marriage, partner was not willing to catch. And that's why the first question that I ask clients, married clients who are looking for coaching, the first question I ask is, does your spouse care about your well-being?
Yeah.
Are they willing to catch the ball, play catch with you? Because if they're not, then it doesn't matter how well that you throw.
What has it all been for?
Exactly.
You know? We don't get to scuba dive.
I'm sorry. The whole podcast is just gonna be a series of inside jokes.
That's an outside joke. It's on The Office.
It's super inside. It's
an outside joke. They'll get it if they. Creed Bratton.
Creed Bratton.
What has it all been for?
If I can't scuba, what's it all been for?
Exactly.
Okay. So I think so we've covered all three things. Is there anything we're missing?
That's wonderful.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. So if you have made it this far in the podcast, we really appreciate you. Jazaa K'Allah Khayr, for choosing to spend this time with us. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and don't forget to get your free compatibility guide or healthy marriage habits if you are a sister. And I think that's everything.
Ask your question below. Maybe we'll put you in the next episode, In Shaa Allah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you have a question you would like to be answered on the podcast, definitely there's a link in the description. Ask it and we'll see what happens. So Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Have a wonderful, what day is it today? Have a wonderful
Thursday.
Okay, Thursday. Okay, so that means Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Have a wonderful weekend that's coming up. And Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.